So a bit of history, guys. We start back here in 1783, as you can see with the wall down below, with George and William Penrose. Now, they had no prior experience in crystal making, but they were businessmen. So they saw an opportunity, decided to invest in a crystal making factory. Now, they didn't know how to do the crafts themselves, so what they did is they traveled over to England, gathered some craftsmen from over there, brought them over here to set up shop. The reason why they chose Waterford as the location is because of the port that we had down below. So back during the 1700s, it was one of the largest ports in Europe. So it's very easy for them to import all the material and export all the product. Also, Waterford was surrounded by a vast woodland area. So they're able to gather the timber to fuel all the furnace, make their wooden tools, and make all their wooden molds as well. So it was a perfect place for them to set up shop. But then in 1799, the Penroses would sell on the business for a profit to another merchant family here in the city, and they were known as the Gatchells. The Gatchells, they did have some prior experience in crystal making, and they won many awards for their prestigious crystal that they made here in Waterford. They won several gold medals at a great exhibition over in London. They ran the business from 1799 until 1851, and during the 1800s, it wasn't the kindest to the Irish. There was an excise tax introduced on all luxury goods, and that includes crystal. So it was very expensive for them to create the crystal and also to sell it. And also during that time, it was a time of the Irish potato famine. So 1 million people unfortunately passed away due to starvation and disease, and 1 million people emigrated out of the country as well. So we were actually forced to close our doors in 1851. And it wasn't until nearly 100 years later until we would reopen. We reopened in 1947 with a Czechoslovakian man. His name was Charles Bacek. He was a profound crystal maker over in Eastern Europe, and the factories that he worked in, they got destroyed during the war. So he was fleeing war-torn Europe to seek refuge over here in Ireland, and also seek out business opportunities as well. Miroslav also became our first chief of design. So I see here in the middle of the cabinet, you'll see our Lismore part. All the stemware and the decanter down below, this is our most famous and our most recognised pattern. He got his inspiration from the Lismore Castle here in County Waterford. There are leaded turrets and windows that surround the castle, and that's what's incorporated in the glass here in front of us. Down below, next to the decanter, you'll see a bowl. This bowl is for our apprentice cutters. So at the end of their 5 years, they'll be presented 3 of these bowls completely blank. They'll have to make 600 individual cuts into the bowl and make 10 wheel changes on the machine as well. The reason for this amount of cuts and wheel changes is because it incorporates every single cut that they would have learned throughout their whole career and all the wheels that they would have used as well. So at the end of the 8-hour working day, after they have all 3 bowls finished, they have to present it to an examiner because it's like they're in a school exam. Whichever bowl they think is best, they'll present this bowl to them and they'll inspect it. If they pass, their names will be inscribed on it and also the date that they finish. Then they get to keep the bowl, sort of like a trophy, a diploma, to show that they finished their 5 years. So on the right hand side of me, on the wall, you'll see a world map. It's just a few different points of interest and where Waterford crystal has been in the world. So those grey circles will give you a bit of information about that part of the world. And then as well, in the corner of the room, you hear the clock chiming earlier, and William Map clock. If you do have any questions about the clock, feel free to ask me too itself. And the reason why we use the pear over the beech is because this timber is a lot more kinder to the crystal, whereas the beech can be a bit more rougher. So that's why we use it for that thin piece of crystal that's being worked with. The beech can like dint or bruise it as it is pre-shaped. As you can see here behind me, the Carpentry workshop, Connor is our carpenter. You may have seen him walking in and out. And he makes all these wooden tools. He makes all the wooden molds for the blowers above in the blowing department. There is no apprenticeship for carpentry inside this department. Connor would have came in as a qualified carpenter. So he would have done his time elsewhere with another different company or another different contractor. Of course, already being qualified in carpentry, already knowing how to work with timber and all the tools that he has on hand, he caught on fairly quickly on how to make the tools and make all the wooden molds. But a previous craftsman that was here alongside him was Paul. But of course, it didn't take that long. That craftsman now is retired. So it's just Connor here at the moment. So no pressure on him. He won't want to be sick. So yeah, he used the likes of his table saw, his bandsaw, his lathe, and all of these Fiskar tools. He also uses his own handheld tools. The temperature of the furnace is at about 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 1,400 degrees Celsius. The craftsman can either gather the material directly from the tank furnace, or they'll gather what's called a billet just down below where the more ratings are. Once they have the material gathered from the billet, they'll place it inside the portable furnace over here on the right hand side. Heat it up so they can actually pre-shape it. They'll be quite solid after coming inside of it. So the craftsman, he has the pre-shaping fully done, and he has put it inside of the cast iron mold here in front of us. Now he's blowing into the iron, getting the full shape of this mold. You also may notice there's a bit of excess glass on top.
This is known as a cap. This cap is just allowing the main body of the piece and the blowing iron to be attached to each other. Kind of like bridge and sorts. And as well, it needs to be there, or else there'll be no pinch whatsoever. So continually blowing down into the blowing iron and turning it, get that full shape. Once they have the full shape done, it comes up, and now it's going to go onto the turntable over here in front of us. Now the craftsman will inspect it for any flaws. If there's any flaws found whatsoever inside the glass after it's been blown, then it will be smashed up and then recycled. Because Waterford crystal does not do seconds, just any flaw found whatsoever, then it will be smashed up. Now they need to remove it from the load. The way that they remove it is that they use some water, and they also use some compressed air. So they'll do this all the way around the rim of the blowing iron, and then from the way it's cooling down very, very quickly, it will just fall off the blowing iron. Then once the piece is all good, it will go inside one of our killings. So our killings are along the right hand side. The kiln is about 400 degrees Celsius at the moment. It will reach 480 degrees Celsius, then it will gradually drop down in temperature throughout the night. It's known as an annealing process, and it's ensuring the whole piece goes down evenly and throughout the night. This will take a little under 24 hours to go down. As you can notice as well, the craftsmen, they work together as a team, and they work together in rotation. So once this piece is done, the next one is being worked on straight away after inside of the portable furnace. The portable furnace does not hold any material, it is simply used to heat up the crystal. Once the crystal gets to a honey type consistency, it's very easily shaped and molded. So we'll just see when this piece comes out of the portable furnace, we'll see how the pre-shaping comes on, then we're going to head up to the next furnace. So up onto the turntable, and they're going to use all the wooden tools. The wooden tools are kept in the silver bucket along the department. Okay then guys, here we are in the quality and finishing department. So look, left hand side of the department, you'll see the back of the kilns. So early in the morning when the craftsmen will come in and take out all the gold out pieces that are made yesterday. Then place them along the kiln bed that you see along us, where all the glass is lying. And then the first thing they need to do is remove the cap that is still attached to the piece. So the way that they remove the cap is that they either use the vertical saw here or the horizontal saw adjacent to it. These saws are diamond tipped and will cut straight through the crystal. Once that cap has been removed, it's going to be quite sharper at the top and around the fine edge. So what they're going to use are the two Batiste wheels over here. These wheels are also diamond crested, and these back legs are made from diamond crested. So the one that's closest to us is the rough wheel, and the one next to it is the smooth wheel. They'll also use the outside and inside bevel. The outside bevel is to put a nice lid around the fine edge of the glass on the outside, and then the inside bevel is used for the same over the inside of the glass. They'll also inspect it for any flaws in this department as well. If there's any flaws whatsoever, it will be smashed up and recycled. So over here, the good colour bin with the white top and the green base on it, once that is full, it is sent off to be mixed in with our raw material. Our raw material consists of lint ash, potash, silica sand. We get these from like some Belgium, Germany and Holland. Look down below where the white bags are with the blue handles on them. That's all the smashed up glass and raw material mixed in with each other. Every 8 hours, one of these bags is going to go into the top of the furnace to keep the furnace full of material to be worked with every single day. By the cutters, and then finally it will be dipped into hydrochloric and sulfuric acid. The acid is not inside this factory, it's about 3 miles outside of the city in a service factory, because the wheels will leave a frostiness appearance to the bowl. We don't want that, we want the lovely shiny finish you see at the end, and the acid achieves that for us by taking away a layer of the crystal. Over here. Okay folks, here we are in the marking department. We look at the tumbler glass that I'm holding. It's a good example of the grid format that the craftsman will apply to the glass for our colours down below. Now the reason why we use a grid format and not the full detail is because our markers and our colours have mastered over 100 different patterns. So just by looking at this glass alone, they already know what pattern is going to go into it. Also by the box number they'll get, and also by the drawing they'll get alongside with it. 9 times out of 10, they already know just by looking at the glass. The reason why they use the grid format is because it's a guideline for them. They can only go as far as this top line here. Say if they exceeded this line, then it's going to be considered flawed. If it's considered flawed, then it will be smashed up and then recycled just like anything else. So no pressure on the cutters. Now say we've got in a trophy or new design, anything our craftsmen have never seen before, then we will apply the full detail. So look over here on the shelf, you'll see 2 bases. These 2 bases have the full detail on them, and then the cutters down below will work off these markings. Once they've worked off the markings a couple of times and it's going into production, they'll get the base back with the grid format. But if it's not going into production, they'll only work off the full detail, because they'll only do it a couple of times. They won't be doing it every single day. So if our markers, if they can't mark the piece, the colours down below won't be able to cut it, because they'll have no guideline to work on. So we'll point out a few different things that I have here. So have you ever heard of the Millennium Times Square Ball that drops every New Year's in New York City? This is one of the panels from that ball. There are 2,668 individual panels that make it up. It's 12 foot wide and it took a year and a half to make. It's one of Waterford Crystal's most iconic pieces. Each year about 10% of these panels will be auctioned off for charity and then a new theme will be added to the ball. So this year's theme was Peace and Love. In the cutting department, so look at this decanter that I'm holding. It's a good example of the two different cuts in the craftsman use. So the cut here in the middle is known as a wedge cut, and the cut down below on the decanter and also on the neck is known as a right toe cut. They're the two different cuts that the craftsman use. Wedge cut is a lot more precise, right toe cut is a lot more broad and a lot more flat. That's why it also gets the name flat cut. All the wheels along the department are all diamond encrusted wheels. Now, say if you were to put your finger on the wheel as it's spinning, it would not cut you. It only cuts abrasive materials such as the crystal we're working with. Also the polishing rocks that they use to sharpen the wheel. Because as you can imagine, they're working on these wheels for so many years during the day that it will eventually get dull. So once they felt like the wheel has gotten dull, they'll apply the rock to the wheel. It will take away a layer of the steel and then bring up the diamonds in the wheel to the surface to get a nice fine cut. Our craftsmen, they need to apply a certain amount of pressure to the wheel with the glass. If they go too hard, they'll go straight through it. If they go too soft, it won't show up after it's been dipped. Because what the acid will do, it will take away a layer of the crystal. That cut was too shallow, it will just fade that cut away. So they need to go about 2¼ inches deep into the glass to get their perfect cut. Now they have no indication of how deep they're going. They're doing it all off a feel and from experience as well. All the wheels are also being spewed with water to keep the wheel cool and also to keep the piece cool. If the piece was to be reheated again as it's in its final state, then it will just eventually burst or shatter from the extreme stress that has been put under after being blown. So it cannot be stretched out any further. Over in the blue canvas, you'll see all the different types of wheels. So there's various different types of wedge cut wheels and various different types of right toe wheels. These wheels can determine the width and the depth of the cut. Over here on my right hand side, we have two auto cutting machines. These auto cutting machines are only used for about 6 to 10% of our production. Everything else will be done by hand, as you can see the craftsmen working away. They're here to help out the craftsmen for the likes of extremely heavy pieces that they cannot hold for so many hours during the day, and as well for precision cuts, such as perfect circles, perfect symmetry, 3D shapes, and anything that needs to be precisely cut. Down below next to the archway on the shelf, you'll see examples of those auto cuts. So have a look around, guys. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask. Then we'll head on down into the next apartment when we're all ready. I'll give you a shout when we're going down. You will see a bowl with some shamrocks on it. This bowl was presented to Barack Obama on St. Patrick's Day in 2015 and presented with Enda Kenny, so our previous Taoiseach. We also have the Nativity Scene bowl and also have the Four Seasons bowl as well. And finally, guys, to my left-hand side, we have the 9/11 memorial piece. And this is in remembrance of Father Michael Judge. He was one of the first victims to be carried out from the disaster as he was trying to save other people's lives from the falling towers. He was unfortunately hit by rubble and then later on laid out on his altar when he sadly passed away. He was also the pastor for the New York Fire Department. It's the same thing, but it's smaller and it's not it's not the original. So folks, that is the final department of the tour. So what we're going to do now, whenever you're ready, you can take your last few photos if you'd like. We're going to group up outside in the hallway here behind me, just on the carpet, the black carpet. Don't go past the second set of double doors, because that is the showroom, and I'll be bringing you out into the showroom and showing you one final thing before I leave you all go. So if you do have any questions, guys, I'll be at the double doors just behind me. Okay?
imagine the space you can have over here.